I'm pretty excited to bring the next set of speakers forward to close out the afternoon session of this year's annual convening. So as I mentioned yesterday morning, we were very intentional about bringing this conference to Indiana this year because we really would like to elevate the impressive work that is happening across the state and also in particular in Indianapolis. So with that, to share a little bit about what's happening here, I would like to bring to the stage Alesia Johnson, who is the Deputy Superintendent for Academics for Indianapolis Public Schools. Please welcome Alesia.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm excited to be here. Again, my name is Alesia Johnson. I have the great honor and privilege to serve as the Deputy Superintendent for Academics at Indianapolis Public Schools. And so very happy to be here on behalf of our Superintendent, Dr. Lewis Farabee, and our IPS Board of School Commissioners. It's very exciting that you all are here during the National Arts Education Week, so yay, we'll celebrate that as you continue to develop and grow your own practices as it relates to deepening the integration and the connection to the arts as a critical and valuable part of a student's school experience. IPS, Indianapolis Public Schools, is the largest school district in central Indiana. We serve just over 30,000 students in about 74 schools. And today I'm here with Ernest Disney-Britton, who just in a few moments will come up and speak to you a little bit about the work that we're doing here. He is the Director of Grant Services and Education Partnerships with the Arts Council of Indianapolis. Ernest and the Arts Council have been incredible partners to the district, and I'm very, very thankful for the work that they continue to do with us, so thank you. Like many urban districts, we are always looking for great partners and thinking about ways in which we can improve our students' experience and ultimately positively impact their lives. And so our partnership, as it relates to Any Given Child, which Ernest will talk about, seeks out to do just that. So in my professional role as Deputy Superintendent of Academics, I welcome you here and thank you for being here to continue to grow your practice. Also personally as a mom with 3 students, actually my children's principal sits right there, with 3 students at our district's art school, Edison School of the Arts. I personally value the experience that they get and recognize and value the way in which arts enriches their lives. And so I'm thankful for you all being here as a professional, but also as a mom of 3 who continue to have children who are deeply impacted by their experience with the arts. And with that, I'll welcome Ernest.
Picture up there, that doesn't exactly look like me anymore, does it? It's time to get a new picture. Timothy Pope, young Timmy, he hated school. When I met Timmy, he was in the 6th grade, and the best part of his day was at 3 o'clock when the school bell rang and he got a chance to get out of there. Like many young black boys, particularly in urban school systems, Timothy had several siblings who lived with him and his single mom. He was in a low socioeconomic neighborhood, and he didn't have many dreams that went beyond the reality that he was facing every day. Timothy was tall, he was athletic, he was smart, he was witty too, but he was uninterested in homework, schoolwork, and he was pretty uncooperative in school. He scored low academically, and he was largely ignored his homework assignments. He was chronically late, and each week he was either in detention or threatened with detention. By most measures, this young man was on a path, but it was a path towards failure. Mid-year of his 6th year, Timmy's principal told me that he had been cast in the school's production of Lion King. And the contrast between his behavior before the musical and then after is really the story that I want to tell you about what's happening in Indianapolis. So before talking more about Timothy, let me also say thanks to the folks at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts for guiding Indianapolis on a path to expanding arts education through their roadmap called Ensuring the Arts for Any Given Child. Mario Rosibo was back there, and several years ago, 3 years exactly, this month, he came to Indianapolis to announce that Indianapolis, and specifically the Indianapolis public school system, was going to be the newest partner in that. So I remember at the time thinking, well, what does that mean now that we have to start working? Well, 2 years later, after a great deal of planning and the support of so many people from the Lilly Endowment, United Way of Indiana, and the Indiana Arts Commission, we produced a 2022 plan that would allow us to reach all 66 schools that have K through 8, which includes charter and public schools, and begin the growing impact of arts expansion. Always with an eye on 2022, we also needed this year to begin implementation, and we needed a significant financial partner to begin implementation in earnest in 20 schools. A partner whose support would allow us to launch an online directory for scheduling field trips and programs, and that you could go online and actually acquire a scholarship for that at the same time. Allow us to provide mini grants to local schools to bring in teaching artists for workshops and presentations. A partner whose support would allow us to measure the impact of our professional development and related programs on the children of 66 schools. Today, I am proud to join with Alesia and all of the folks here from Indianapolis in announcing that the GLIC Fund of Central Indiana Community Foundation is making an $80,000 reward to support the arts expansion efforts this year for Indianapolis Public Schools. Please join Deputy Superintendent Johnson and all of us from Indianapolis in thanking the GLIC Fund of Central Indiana Community Foundation. As you know, that there is a national crisis in arts education affecting kids like Timothy Pope. It's a crisis impacting kids from low socioeconomic status. It's a crisis impacting students of color who have less than half of the access to arts education than their white peers. And it's a crisis that 90% of those who are these urban kids don't have access to incredible and powerful programs like dance and theater. In 2015, Indianapolis joined you, the Education Partnership, on this journey for arts equity. Indianapolis Public Schools at that time made a commitment to that every K through 8 school would have both a music teacher and a visual arts teacher as a baseline for arts expansion, and that's a significant commitment. But it's one that was reflected in our research. And we also learned that 97% of the teachers and principals believe that the arts should be a required part of the school day program, not just after school and weekends, but during the school day program. However, we also found out that 80% of students didn't have access to dance, theater, or media arts instruction on a regular basis, that 60%, 6 out of 10, did not take a field trip, not one single field trip to an arts and cultural organization over the course of the year. Even at the same time, while arts and cultural organizations had the funding and support needed to make those things happen, but they weren't having the communication links. And also that none, and I mean 0%, of our schools were using the teaching methodology commonly known as arts integration, even though 94% of our teachers reported that they would like to have training in this new teaching methodology. Now, our district is unique, and I'm sure that everybody out here would say, well, our district is unique as well. But I'll say that our local school system, public school system, we think in terms of the public with a small p. We have traditional schools managed by the Indianapolis Public School District. We also have charter schools that are chartered by the mayor's office and work through the mayor's office. And recently, we've also started a third category called the innovation schools, but which are also named, in the folks in New Orleans call it the district charter. So schools that have a relationship with the district, but they're also operating as 501c3s. Against this backdrop, our charge was to develop a system where the students in all three categories would experience equity in the arts, and we could pace that growth and expansion along the way. But I like to think in terms of, even with all these barriers in terms of lack of instructional time, transportation, professional development, funding, and communication, that it really boils down to three things here in Indianapolis. Match teachers with arts organizations. 2, bolster the district's administrative capacity. And 3, measure the impact. We were with Ayanna Hudson the other day, and she was talking to the principal of Edison for the Arts, and he's talking about the incredible things that are happening, and she's asking, well, how are you measuring that? How are you measuring that? And that is one of the ingrained things that we're doing here in Indianapolis, is to make sure that we're measuring that. During 2017-2018 pilot, 5 local school systems, 5 local museums confirmed that they would provide free and reduced admission for all the participating schools in any given child. The Indiana Repertory Theater began brainstorming on hosting a teacher's night for district-wide Indianapolis public school teachers. And groups like Arts for Learning, who is here in the audience here today, Butler Arts Center, Music for All, and Art with a Heart, all began working together in a coordinated effort to expand arts access for our kids, but also to provide professional development. It's really, that's step 1, that coordinated approach. Step 2 of Any Given Child, and the exciting things that are happening in Indianapolis, is it's a systems-wide approach of bolstering the capacity of the district with an eye on the future and not so much on the past. You all have probably been in conversations with folks who say, well, remember the good old days when the district district had plenty of money and they required from the top down that there would be this activity, there would be musical instrumentation instruction and visual arts, and there would be field trips. Well, those days are gone in Indianapolis. We're in an era of school-based decision-making. We're in an era where there are charter schools and so much independence. And so it's also time to create new ways, transforming the system so for the reality of today. Anybody here remember the Oldsmobile? Anybody here still using a BlackBerry? Anybody here have a compact computer at home? Or did anybody pick up a video at Blockbuster on their way here today? Those are incredible models of success of the past. But what we're looking for is a model of success for the future. And one of those things that we're working towards is that we'll have an arts integration center here in Indianapolis. Edison School of the Arts has stepped up in that effort so that as they train all of their teachers to be arts experts, they're also planning to make engagements with all of the other schools in Indianapolis so that all teachers in Indianapolis will have a laboratory to learn the incredible skills that come with arts integration training. Step 3, as we tested during our pilot this past year, that we would have 9 schools. You can see the 9 schools on the right. We're going to experiment with a variety of different things, and we did all of this with basically almost no money, but we were going to test all of these ideas ranging from $125,000 per school to $16,000 per school. And we tested the impact of weekly dance and theater instruction in 2 schools, and we experienced at the same time a decline in access to programs like music and physical education as a result. We tested the effectiveness of providing incentives for schools to participate in Arts Education Week. And we witnessed the effectiveness of offering mini grants to schools so that they could be involved in actually addressing the gaps that we'd identified. We tested how to have a coordinated approach to district-wide training, and we noted that the importance of a coordinated schedule that was district-wide, but we also identified that while with all of these different school systems, there was not the opportunity for everybody to be available on the same date. And we had to accept the fact that in some instances, we have to go with the majority of people and what their access is going to provide, and then we'll have to figure out how to tackle those other issues later. The lessons of the last year provided a guide for implementation this year, that thanks to the GLIC Fund, we'll be able to implement our plans for this year's with 20 schools. But I want to leave you with some final thoughts on Timothy Pope. At the beginning of today, when I talked about Indianapolis, I introduced you to this young man, and you recall that he hated school, and that was before he got engaged in the arts. When I met him, his favorite time of the day was when the school bells rang at the end of the day, but now it's his least favorite part of the day because he loves the arts-enriched activities during the day and also the after-school activities that are happening. While Timothy is not his real name, I'm sure you can all imagine why I'm not using his real name, I can report that I watched him enthusiastically playing the trumpet this past week during a concert with his school's jazz band. And he was so excited. He was a totally different person than the person that I met a couple of years ago. His teachers and principals have also remarked at how much improved his homework is, his schoolwork, and how he is much more cooperative in school. His grades have improved some. His detentions have ceased. And Timothy's dreams, which in the past he didn't really have any dreams, have now grown to be about being a professional football player or a musician. So it's some progress. It's a new path of success. And when people ask what we're doing here in Indianapolis, I say that every day we get up thinking about how can we create the next Timothy Pope. Thank you.